When it comes to 21st century motorcycles, the image of a sleek candy, lime green, or equally vibrantly colored machine is generally considered to be the hallmark of Kawasaki. Guaranteed to turn heads and give riders state-of-the-art engineering and high-speed performance. These bikes add spice to even life's most mundane journeys. And from 250cc machines, right through the range to the powerful 1000cc plus models, Kawasaki always lives up to its "Let the good times roll" motto. Kawasaki, without a doubt, alongside Yamaha and Suzuki, build machines that the Japanese motorcycle industry can be rightly proud of. Although latecomers to the world market, the reputation of motorcycles built in Japan has grown more prestigious with the passage of time. Back in the 1950s, as the Japanese focused on a post-World War II recovery, mass production of cheap and cheerful goods meant that on a global scale, a Made in Japan label was synonymous with poor quality. However, when it comes to motorcycles, thankfully this stigma has long since gone. For quality and reliability, Kawasaki is at the forefront. And although they could never be described as cheap, the value for money principles of the Japanese motor industry definitely apply. And for many, Kawasaki will always be the epitome of style, particularly if a more contemporary color scheme happens to be to your taste. But to see where it all began, we need to head for Tokyo, Japan's capital, the world's most populated metropolitan area. This fascinating city, with its mix of ancient tradition and bustling modernity, is no longer the mystery that it used to be, with Tokyo now becoming a regular destination for foreign visitors. The fact that this is an island nation, which for centuries kept itself shut off from the rest of the world, is evident wherever you look. But ironically, the broadening of Japanese horizons as its people took to the seas is where our Kawasaki story actually begins. Mr. Shozo Kawasaki founded the company in the 1870s as a shipping yard in Tokyo, and some 18 years later it was incorporated as Kawasaki Dockyard Company Limited. However, as an industrial venture, Kawasaki really came into its own during the Second World War, when business boomed with the production of submarines and supertankers. World War II was a busy time for another Kawasaki division, namely their aerospace company. It was actually one of the world's first aircraft manufacturers, founded in 1918. And as the Japanese joined forces with Adolf Hitler in World War II, they produced planes and engines for the Imperial Japanese Army. The technology developed and the engineering skills acquired were phenomenal. But at the end of the war, Japan was banned from further aircraft development, and it would be well into the 1950s before production was resumed. Not surprisingly, Kawasaki looked to diversify, and in 1949 moved into the manufacture of motorcycles. Just like Suzuki and Yamaha, who had also been heavily involved in wartime production, Kawasaki needed to find an acceptable outlet for their engineering experience, and motorcycles proved to be a viable option. There was also another reason why this period in modern history favored motorcycle production, whether in Japan, America, or Great Britain. For the young men who had fought in the war, whatever country they were returning home to, peace and domesticity left them with something of a void. Many actively sought the adrenaline rush that motorcycles provided. And from the racetracks of the world to the wide-open roads, the forerunners of the Kawasaki machines that you see today gave the company a whole new lease of life. As brand recognition made Kawasaki a star name when it came to record-breaking power, the company went from strength to strength. By the 1960s, Kawasaki had taken over the Tokyo-based Meguro Works, one of Japan's first motorcycle manufacturers that could trace its origins back to the early 20th century. With Meguro's knowledge and experience, Kawasaki were able to start producing bigger bikes. but the models produced tended to be heavier and not as fast as their competitors. This made Kawasaki more determined than ever, and by the end of the decade, the hard work had paid off, as racing success in the smaller CC categories made them a force to be reckoned with right through the 70s and 80s. Then, at the start of the 1990s, Kawasaki stepped up a gear as the competition got even tougher. They developed the ZZR 1100, which once launched became the fastest production bike for nearly 5 years. And following on with such models as the Mean Streak, Eliminator, and Ninja, they have sustained their much respected market position right up to the present day. And if you'd like proof, and to see why these machines have survived the test of time, here's an up-close and personal look at a selection of some of the most popular Kawasaki models available to 21st century riders. From growling cruisers, sports bikes with ultimate racetrack performance, and versatile dual-purpose models, Kawasaki has plenty and more to offer its riders. But coming out on top as one of the company's best-selling bikes is not a 1000cc bike or even a 650, but the sporty Ninja 250R. Light to handle and guaranteed to give a smooth ride whether you're driving down urban roads or tackling winding country lanes, this little number proves that good things do come in small packages. The Ninja 250R is pretty hard to fault and is a favorite with those beginning to get to grips with motorcycle riding for the first time. One of the beauties of the model is its rider-friendly chassis and emphasis on comfort. You can almost forget you're out on the open road, as its sturdy frame and chunky 17-inch wheels not only give you better stability, keeping pitching motion to a healthy minimum, but also ensures that the handling is most definitely confidence-inspiring. Despite its appeal to those starting out their motorcycling career, this sports bike has also proved popular with more experienced motorcyclists. And its high-revving twin and big bike looks have most definitely put the fun back into urban riding. The Ninja 250 appeals to a wide range of motorcyclists, and low seating will encourage shorter riders to climb on board, as well as being part of this bike's appeal to the fairer sex. Equally, the combination of the slight forward slant of the seat and raised handlebars makes sure that anyone taking the 250 out for a longer blast at weekends will be sure to enjoy an easy and comfortable ride. But as well as its obvious mechanical advantages, one thing Kawasaki know how to do well is to make a bike look cool, sexy, and stylish, and the Ninja 250 is no exception. From excellent aerodynamics to the flashy chrome end can, there are plenty of eye-catching features with functions to match. The 2-in-1 exhaust system doesn't just look good, but helps towards keeping a low and mid-range torque, giving the Ninja a smooth, step-free power curve. It's old news that Kawasaki is big in motorcycle racing, and pushing innovations to the extreme in designer ergonomics has also benefited the models that aren't geared up for the racetracks. Pedal disc brakes have been added to the Ninja 250, making it perfect for stop-starting. And whether you're out for a gentle run at 30 miles per hour or burning the twin to its extreme, you'll find the bike will be totally dependable and as easy to handle as anyone could possibly ask, with effective braking adding to unbeatable control. There can be no doubt that this model is the perfect introduction to Kawasaki. And after a taste of the Ninja 250, riders will be hooked on the brand and coming back for more. Though this is clearly a bike that appeals to the masses, if you're itching to get off the streets on a lightweight 250cc machine, you'll be after something a little tougher and the KLX 250 trail bike is exactly what those explorers among you will be looking for. This is altogether leaner and meaner than the more user-friendly Ninja, but the lightweight KLX gives a smooth power delivery and will prove just as pleasurable to ride for those who prefer to venture across rougher terrain. Get up close and personal and you'll see some of the features that make this model such a roaring success on and off-road. To the front, the 43mm inverted cartridge-style front fork, complete with carefully styled guards, comes with 16-way compression damping adjustment. The importance of damping is vital if you want to avoid jumping tires with every bump you encounter in those blasts off the beaten track. When your front wheel hits a rock or hump, the suspension should compress when going up the obstacle and extend when going down and then stop moving. The KLX 250 gives you plenty of options in this arena, so depending on the road surface you're dealing with, you can fine-tune damping to suit the terrain and your own particular riding style. Take a look at the back of the bike and you'll find that Unitrack rear suspension also has all the advantages of compression damping, while the lightweight aluminum D-section swing arm keeps unsprung weight to a minimum. And new KX racing type chain adjusters allow the chain slack to be adjusted with precision. The result is great road holding ability and bump absorption, so riders feel more grounded when hitting those tight corners. Even in the showroom, it's easy to imagine the fun to be had out and about on this bike, way beyond anything the majority of us would expect of a 250cc machine. Having looked at what Kawasaki can offer in the 250cc range, anyone interested in slightly more powerful models with a dual-purpose function may want to venture into 650cc territory. And a trail bike that really shows the versatility of all-rounder motorcycles is the KLE 650 Versys. Easy to ride and powered by a parallel twin which gives plenty of torque across the rev range, the Versys has most definitely earned its name, playing on the words versatility and system, and this bike has most certainly mastered both. Initially, you'll find plenty of similarities between the Versys and its sportier cousins, the ER6F and N, with both models having the 649cc parallel twin engine. You'll also find similar features in the frames of the different bikes, with a steel trellis frame positioning the rear shock in the same lay-down position. But there are differences between the ER6F and its dual-purpose relative. Kawasaki has made modifications so that the Versys twin engine has been retuned to provide more low-end torque and roll-on power, which makes it great to use in city traffic and perfect for the cut and thrust of the early morning commute. But the wow factor of this bike doesn't end with its engine. Suspension on the Versys offers the next level in sophistication. And with spring preload, hydraulic compression, and rebound, there are plenty of adjustable options. And you'll find this justifies the higher price tag to match. In really heavy traffic jams, the long suspension travel means you can climb tall curbs, even with a passenger on board. Not to mention tackling potholes without slowing down. The height is a definite advantage as you pick your way through the urban jungle because unlike the smaller 250cc models, the Versys has an 800mm high seat, which guarantees a good field of vision in traffic and will most certainly help you stand out from the crowd. There are plenty of other features that make the Versys an attractive proposition, including a short exhaust, digital instrumentation, and a handy adjustable windscreen, which is a lifesaver when traveling at high speeds. But if you prefer a sportier model in the 650cc class, make sure you look out for the ER6N, because this truly is a remarkable bike, and certainly still has the upper hand when it comes to winding roads, with a low-level torque that saves plenty of gear changing and hard revving. Additional rubber mounting between the engine and frame as well as the handlebars, not to mention the rubber pads on front and rear footrests, mean that vibration is kept to a comfortable minimum, and the ride is much smoother than tended to be the case with previous models. Stacked headlamps and a headlamp shroud give the ER6N a decidedly streamlined appearance, and the bodywork clearly complements the frame rather than hiding it. You can't help but notice the pipe-like design of the new swing arm and revised stabilizer, which all add to the look of this stylish model. The shrouds have also been recently redesigned to look sharper and have just that bit of extra width to accommodate the new radiator, all adding to the forward-leaning lines of this bike's muscular and athletic image. And if that wasn't enough, there are also revised front turn signals integrated into the radiator shrouds. Compact, easy to ride, and great for commuting, as well as days when you're in the mood for some off-road fun, the ER6N is certainly well worth trying out, especially with the price tag being so realistic. However, there are just a few drawbacks with the ER6N, and it may be that you'll feel that this model lacks the kind of weather protection you might be looking for. Certainly, at high speeds, the lack of a windshield can make riding a slightly more uncomfortable experience. And if this is the case, the sleeker chassis of the Kawasaki ER6F, the fully fared relation of the naked ER6N, could well be the bike for you. In the US, the ER6F is better known as the Ninja 650R and is considered by many to be the beginner's superbike. This machine certainly has a super sport look, with its sharply angled windscreen complete with a lip at the top to help deflect air away from the rider. There's even a duct in the center of the cowling which creates an air curtain, reducing wind buffeting and vastly improving rider comfort when traveling at high speeds. Flowing lines are also evident in the design of the multifunction instrumentation with all the features you'd expect, from new fuel gauge, digital speedometer and clock, to dual trip meters and a bar-style digital tachometer. And of course, the red backlighting for the LCD screen does add to the sporty image of this model. With the benefit of a highly modified gearbox, the 650 engine of the ER6F is small enough to allow for a short chassis, resulting in this bike's cutting-edge handling. Also, the narrow engine, which is essentially the same as the ER6N's, helps with the overall balance and makes the bike feel surprisingly light. The narrow frame and engine also allows the rider to keep knees and feet close together, and the handlebars, seat, and foot pegs are positioned in such a way that guarantees a comfortable and natural position, which will inspire confidence and appeal to a wide range of riders. Handling is also greatly assisted by the design of the exhaust system, which runs under the bike and exits in front of the rear wheel. Look out as well for the craftily located rear shock, mounted directly between the frame and swing arm without the added weight of link arms and bearings, making for an altogether lighter body. This is a perfect bike for the novice or the experienced rider alike, and just as with the ER6N, you'll soon find yourself eager to get off those A and B roads and onto the twisting country lanes that really give you a chance to put this bike through its paces. Not all motorcycle enthusiasts want to hurl themselves around tight bends and tackle rough terrain, however, and if you prefer a comfortable cruise along an open highway, rather than exploring country lanes, you'll be glad to hear that Kawasaki doesn't begin and end with sports models. The VN900 Classic Cruiser is sure to win the hearts of those who love a nostalgic trip back to the heyday of biking, when Harley-Davidsons and the mighty Triumphs were quite literally the kings of the road. It will come as no surprise that models evocative of the early cruisers dating from the 1930s through to the 1960s have captured 60% of the U.S. market. And although American and British bikes once cornered the cruiser market, you'll find that most major motorcycle manufacturers, including the Japanese, now have their own stylish options inspired by the greats of the past. And Kawasaki has certainly come up with the goods with the VN900 Classic. First introduced to the market in 2006, a combination of adjustable rear suspension and 41mm forks gives a comfortable and sure-footed ride on this sleek machine. And if you look a little closer at the features of this bike, you'll see how old-fashioned style has been carefully crafted with modern mechanics to create a machine that will quickly win you over. Everything from the wheels to the chassis have been carefully thought out by Kawasaki designers to deliver a tough, modern wolf of a bike in evocative old-style sheep's clothing. Traditional wire-spoked wheels meet modern performance disc brakes, while slash-cut pipes give the bike a rough-and-ready look, while still conforming to the most stringent noise and emissions regulations. The tank-mounted fuel gauge and speedometer add that extra touch of class, and as if that wasn't enough, the V-twin with fuel injection delivers effortless torque, ensuring a smooth and easy-to-handle ride. In fact, with such a great-looking bike, giving such an assured performance, there's not much more you could possibly ask for from a cruiser. But one of the keys to Kawasaki's undoubted success has been their ability to come up with a range of bikes to keep up with the times and provide riders with a wide-ranging choice. From sports dual-purpose and classic bikes, right through to the unashamedly big bikes and Kawasaki's Z series, there really is something to please even the most demanding rider. In the 1960s, Kawasaki began developing a new 750cc four-cylinder, four-stroke sports motorcycle. But just before the launch, they were pipped at the post by Honda's CB750. Geared up for a fight, Kawasaki bosses pushed their designers to come up with something bigger and better than ever, and Team Kawasaki rose to the challenge. The 903cc bike that hit the market in 1972, the Z1, took the motorcycling world by storm and set a standard for superbikes that is still the envy of all manufacturers to this day. One of the most revered models, which can only be described as an aggressive beast of a machine, is actually descended from the original Z1 model. What you see here is the Z1000. And if you're looking for a bike with plenty of muscle and sheer unabashed power, then this very possibly is the motorcycle for you. Back in the 1970s, new riders were warned to watch the revs on the Z1000's prototype, the Z1, because above 4,000 it turned into what was termed the world's first crotch rocket, delivering a performance that no one, not even professional racers, had experienced before. Almost 4 decades later, riders who try out the Z1000 and experience the pulling power that soars to 10,000 RPM will be guaranteed a similar adrenaline rush to the thrills enjoyed by those daring bikers who took to the road on the Z1 some 30 years ago. Most bikers only have to look at the Z1000 to have their appetites whetted. And the Big Z certainly screams out, "Ride me!" which is hardly surprising when you consider that this is still one of the fastest naked machines around. With torque boosted in the low to mid-rev range, the Z1000 gives plenty of muscle when it's most needed. And from winding roads to those of a more wide-open variety, you'll soon realize that you're effortlessly passing cars once you've unleashed the throttle. But don't think you can sit back and relax on this 21st century street fighter. At high speeds, you'll find grip and muscle come into play. And if you're looking for a full upper body workout, you won't be disappointed if you push the Z1000 to its limit. There have been plenty of engine changes to create the very latest version of the Kawasaki Z1000. And this is accentuated by a new transmission with lower gearing, which all adds to the intensity of the ride. You'll find that with ultra-fine injectors and oval subthrottles, the throttle response is altogether crisper. The engine mounts are positioned closer to the engine's center of gravity, which reduces vibration and minimizes friction loss, which in turn means that riders will directly experience the new Kawasaki Z1000's aggressive power feeling at every level. Like the engine changes, the new Z1000's frame modifications were designed to offer more exhilaration in real-world riding situations. By reducing the frame's overall stiffness, the new chassis offers riders much greater feedback. The steering head has been moved 10 millimeters forward, and the slightly longer wheelbase adds to quick responsive steering with a real sense of stability, even at speed. Suspension naturally has an important role to play in this, as revised settings contribute to the bike's nimble handling. meaning that even the sharpest corners can be taken with ease. The 41mm adjustable inverted front forks deliver great steering performance, with the smooth action in the top half of the stroke being complemented by firmer damping in the bottom half. For the rider, this gives the sensation of a long stroke suspension initially, which is followed by a solid performance when it comes to cornering, which not only makes the bike easier to ride, but also enhances the whole experience, giving it a truly sporty feel. But the great engineering on the Z1000 doesn't stop there. The bottom link Unitrack rear suspension has a nitrogen gas-charged shock, with piggyback reservoir and settings that balance the front fork and help to offer exceptional road holding. These front and rear settings combine to make the bike's pitching motions more predictable and easier to interpret, and the superior ride quality will be hard to ignore, especially when commuting or riding around town. As the Z1000 is essentially a super sport with what has often been described as a brawny engine, its ninja-like brake components will come as no surprise. Radial mount brake calipers and a radial pump front brake master cylinder offer precise brake control and superb feel at the lever. The enhanced brake performance allows riders to concentrate more on their riding, secure in the knowledge that the Z1000's excellent brakes will deliver the stopping power wherever and whenever it happens to be needed. The first-rate mass centralization and ergonomics are a major factor when it comes to the enhanced rider and machine synergy. The close handlebars of the Z1000 and slim saddle combine to create a compact riding position. This lets the rider take full advantage of the motorcycle's great stability and sharp, nimble handling characteristics, while making short of any distance out on the open road. The seating position is slightly forward, which does mean quite an aggressive lean into the bike. However, with a small windscreen available, which doesn't detract from the naked good looks of this bike, you do have the option of riding in comfort if you choose. And this bike isn't just maneuverable and functional when it comes to getting from A to B, but has an irresistible ability to unleash the fun seeker in every rider. And no one can deny this is what motorcycling is all about. And fear not, if the mighty Z1000 seems a bit of a handful, the Z750 has a slightly smaller engine, but is just as big on style. The development criteria for the new Z series has been true street performance. And while both the Kawasaki Z750 and the Z1000 share this ultimate goal, their approaches are radically different. Take the nimble dimensions of a Sports 600 and squeeze a potent 750cc 4 engine into it, and you get a bike that not only gives you all the power you need, but is a joy to handle and will have you positively hunting out the curves. Surprising as it might sound, it's also worth mentioning the fact that this 750 is offered as a budget machine. But you'll find that this model has plenty to offer above and beyond its very reasonable price tag. Overall, the Z750 is a classy-looking bike, with the frame, tail unit, and tank being very similar to the Z1000. And the only real differences being the lack of polished wheel rims, the budget suspension, and the front fairing, which is unique to the Z750. Despite being smaller than the Z1000, the Kawasaki Z750 is actually the largest in Kawasaki's range of naked and half-faired bikes, and with its sleek styling can boast to be the ultimate statement when it comes to street riding. Taking a closer look at the engine, the retuned power unit of the Z750 allows for greater surge and overtaking power, which in turn makes it a perfect option for city riding. Compared with previous models, it has a wider torque curve, while retaining the high RPM feature seen on the previous models. The fuel tank is sculpted for maximum style and comfort, and you'll certainly be glad of the knee recesses when you begin to hit the sharper bends. Balancing engine and chassis performance, the Z750 gives great precise handling in all situations, while still proving itself to be a powerful street riding machine. And the superb feedback makes this Z Classic an all-time favorite. The chassis is stiffer than it was on previous models, which adds to the excellent feedback, and the adjustable upside-down front forks, as on many of the other Kawasaki models, plays a big part in the Z750's razor-sharp handling, which will suit demanding sports riding and improve the general feel. And while you can tune the forks to suit the way you ride, a carefully tuned subframe ensures that no annoying vibrations will distract you from the joy of speeding off on this growling machine. And you can certainly ride with confidence, safe in the knowledge that the Z750's front brakes have powerful two-piston calipers and pedal discs, making this state-of-the-art Kawasaki just as effective at stopping as it is at accelerating and handling. Interestingly, it wasn't until the 1970s that disc brakes became commonplace, but with motorcycle racing pushing designers to come up with increasingly efficient braking systems, all Kawasaki models now boast the efficient pedal disc braking system. These not only help reduce unsprung weight, but their unique pedal shape helps to clean the brake pads, which in turn leads to more efficient braking performance. The cross-drilling of the brake discs was first done in the 1960s on racing cars, and this ventilated disc design helps to dissipate the generated heat and also gives the gas which builds up between brake pads and the disc an escape route. Also, the holes will help remove any moisture residue when the bike is ridden through water, which might otherwise be a real danger to braking efficiency. There are plenty of other features to enjoy on the Z750 with its flashy instrument panel, unique dual-exit single silencer, and sensual four-cylinder exhaust note, which without doubt adds to the pleasure of the ride. At low speeds, you'll find the seating quite comfortable as bars and pegs put you in an upright riding position that feels very natural and pleasantly relaxed at low speeds. Above 70 miles per hour, the lack of a fairing can make the ride a little less comfortable, but fans would argue that this is a small price to pay for such a stylish-looking bike. Kawasaki do seem to have got the balance about right, with the Z750 not being too sporty nor too soft. Just a perfect combination of the two. In fact, this is a machine that can match the performance of the great Kawasaki sports bikes, while being comfortable enough for touring. And with its quick revving power, you really do get the best of both worlds. However, that said, for touring, Kawasaki do have some remarkably good options. And the GT 1400 Grand Tourer is without doubt a case in point. Sport touring has evolved over decades from simply strapping a bag to the back of any sporty motorcycle to a very specific genre, which in turn demanded that manufacturers design machines that would be more in keeping with their riders' needs. For the majority of the sports tourer models on the market, it's common for the manufacturer to use an existing engine and technology from the current or last generation of their sport bikes, and designs are retuned and recammed for an emphasis on greater mid-range torque rather than absolute peak horsepower. Kawasaki's 1400 GTR is no exception to the rule and takes the engine from the world's most powerful hyper sports bike, the ZZR 1400, to power this comfortable distance-munching tourer. This most practical of motorcycles still delivers performance that challenges the meanest bikes on the streets, while performing comfort for those long-distance adventures. The 1400 GTR has an extraordinary torque delivery across the rev range thanks to precision engineering. And whether you need blistering acceleration or smooth power for high-speed cruising, you won't be disappointed. How a motorcycle is loaded for long-distance travel is really important, as you need to focus on keeping weight distribution even. You'll find that on the GTR, the detachable large volume panniers are a great help when you're packing up the bike, giving you plenty of luggage space as well as making sure balance is maintained. There's even a convenient tank compartment so you don't waste space, giving you all your essentials from credit cards to ID conveniently to hand. In fact, there's everything on this bike, from tire pressure sensors which deliver information straight to the instrument console to an electrically adjustable screen to deflect wind and rain. The seat has been designed with long-distance comfort in mind, and a 22-liter fuel tank ensures that you only have to stop when you choose to. With constantly changing traffic and road conditions in mind, you've even got a concentric instrument panel, giving you all the information you need at a quick glance. So, having toured, cruised, driven through city streets, and put these bikes through their paces out on the open road, it's time to really see what Kawasaki can do, as we catch a glimpse of the super sport Kawasaki models that truly are the stuff of dreams. If what you're looking for is arm-ripping power and unbeatable control, then take a closer look at the Z Series. Because if something sporty is what you're after, then one of the best superbikes on offer has to be the Ninja ZX-10R. This model is Kawasaki's follow-up to the ZX-9R sports bike, which in 1998 was its most powerful bike ever. However, the introduction of the groundbreaking Yamaha R1 did rather steal the limelight from Kawasaki back in the 1990s. But when the Ninja ZX-10R won the Best Superbike Award from Cycle World magazine not so long ago, it proved that even Yamaha's hugely popular R1 faced a worthy competitor. Hard-edged and race-oriented to optimize this particular Ninja's performance for the track, a new engine has been tuned for an enhanced high-revving ride without reducing the engine's low and mid-range torque. Throttle response has been improved by installing secondary fuel injectors using oval throttle bodies, as well as reshaping the intake ports, and the result is a powerful race-ready engine raring to hit the road. An ultra-narrow chassis makes the bike feel lighter and more maneuverable than you might imagine, and this combined with the high-performance engine makes the Ninja ZX-10R a seriously competitive proposition. The fully adjustable shock now features dual low and high-speed compression damping, which means that riders can achieve the fine-tuning essential for circuit riding if they get the chance. The chassis is one area where the ZX-10 really shines. The stiffness balance of the frame also plays a part in the success of this bike, resulting in superb rider feedback. reshaping the frame's pressed parts. Replacing concave pieces with convex versions may seem subtle differences, being hardly noticeable to the naked eye, but they nevertheless do a great deal to alleviate stress concentrations. The swing arm has been designed especially to match the optimized stiffness balance of the new frame. It uses pressed beams to deliver a level of feel that would be hard to get with a cast swing arm, and features a top-mounted stabilizer, the design of which contributes to the superb high-speed stability of the new chassis. The Ninja ZX-10R also has a new and improved exhaust system with a single orthogonal titanium right-side silencer, replacing the earlier dual underseat units. Along with the pre-chamber, this design lowers the bike's center of gravity and centralizes mass, contributing to the bike's flickable handling. Exhaust efficiency is also improved, contributing to the increased power output of the new engine. And if you take a look at this remarkable feat of engineering head-on, you'll discover a range of features that you won't see on many other models. The highly efficient centrally mounted ram air intake duct has been reshaped to reduce intake noise and further improve intake efficiency. A new passageway through the frame routes intake air from the ram air duct to either side of the steering head, which ensures it takes a very efficient path to the airbox. With your combustion chamber filled by cooler, oxygen-rich air, fuel burns at a more efficient rate. You get more power out of every drop of fuel when it's combined with the right amount of air. And with more air in the chamber, you can also burn more fuel than before. As with the Z750, the ZX-10R boasts a superb braking system, and the damping performance tried and tested on the racetrack is excellent. Kawasaki collaborated with the Swedish-based manufacturer Öhlins Racing AB to create an adjustable steering damper with a relief valve and twin-tube design for this Ninja. The second tube, which acts like a reservoir tank, and the damper internals ensure stable damping performance even under racing conditions. And even if the damping fluid in the cylinder gets hot, it will not froth. The damper unit also has an integral clamp so that piston motion is not hindered. Öhlins are world-renowned manufacturers of high-performance automotive, motorcycle, and ATV suspension systems, and having been responsible for parts that have contributed to the winning of more than 200 world championships, outstanding performance and reliability can be pretty much taken for granted. What's more, Kawasaki have come up with groundbreaking engineering techniques to limit accident risk. The new Kawasaki Ignition Management System is designed to reduce wheel spin under extreme circumstances. According to Kawasaki management, this system curtails sudden spikes in engine speed. The sophisticated ECU retards ignition timing when via a myriad of sensors, such as engine speed and throttle position, it senses wheel spin. The system won't engage when the throttle is twisted hard, but rather when rear wheel slip is detected at neutral throttle openings. This is an incredible feature and adds to the many that make this bike one of the best in its field. Now, should you be looking for a super sports model that isn't quite as big as the ZX-10R, preferring something in a neatly packaged chassis that's still positively screaming, "Take me to the racetrack," you may want to consider the Ninja ZX-6R. Today, this model is more popular than ever before, sporting a fine engine that weighs a whole 2 kilograms less than previous models and helps towards saving a staggering 10 kilograms overall. An impressive 115 brake horsepower at the back wheel maintains power to the max, And there are plenty of other tweaks and improvements that very definitely make this a giant of a superbike that's just that little bit more manageable. The swing arm pivot and rear engine mounts have been made more rigid, optimizing balance between the front and the rear. The new subframe is very narrow, which allows the rear of the Ninja ZX6R to be compact and slim. The steering head angle has also been adjusted to allow the bike to turn in more easily, and with fully adjustable suspension front and back. Designed with help from the Showa Corporation, the highly respected Japanese manufacturers of high-performance suspension systems, really does make this a fantastic bike to ride. Look out as well for the latest in big piston forks using MotoGP technology, which will allow you to brake devilishly late while still keeping the bike stable. Other bonuses include a slipper clutch as standard, radial brakes with wavy discs, and the addition of a lap timer incorporated into the clocks does leave you wondering what more any motorcyclist with a fondness for the wild side could possibly ask. There can be no denying that Kawasaki Super Sports are the real icing on the cake when it comes to the models they have on offer. And pushing design and engineering to the extreme, the Ninja ZX-10R and ZX-6R are really challenging the boundaries for motorcycling in the 21st century and beyond. And on that very positive and highly tuned note, sadly, we now have to drag ourselves away from these jaw-dropping racers as the Kawasaki program in this series is about to kick down the brakes and come to a halt. Hopefully you've enjoyed an eventful journey through the gripping range of bikes that Kawasaki has on offer. And from the tough and scrappy 250cc models through to the 1000cc plus giants, you'll have found something that really appeals to you and, if applicable, your own individual style of riding. The great joy of motorcycling is that for those who crave the freedom of the open road, whether negotiating traffic in city streets or tackling rocky inclines in the wilderness, it really does tick all the boxes. As a manufacturer, Kawasaki engineers have created bikes that do all these things and a great deal more besides. Many of these machines are the best to be found on today's market, and combining cool state-of-the-art chassis with fantastic handling and unbeatable power, each one is a guaranteed winner. Kawasaki has inspired designers to push to ever greater extremes over the decades, and who knows what the future will bring. One thing, however, is for sure, Kawasaki will be heading for wilder, bigger, and better things. And even the most imaginative riders among you can only dream of what lies ahead.